What is up, gamers? I am back in Kerbal Space Program now. So before I actually start doing anything, I'm gonna explain a couple things, okay? The Long Dark, that's on hold indefinitely. It's kind of not fun for me to play, and I got burned out on it. And it's not like it matters either way whether I play this. The thing is, I know I can make a really good long series out of Kerbal Space Program. And with mods and stuff, I can just keep adding and adding and adding. So that's what I'm going to be doing probably from this point on. It's Kerbal Space Program on PC because I can. So yes, it is going to be a modded game because I feel like making a modded game. I'm going to be going with the normal thing that I go. Actually, no. See, usually I don't like using the regular, flags. I don't like using these companies, but I think I'm going to. I'm just gonna go with what I usually do, Winter Owl, because I think Winter Owl is a freaking cool name. So, we are now the Winter Owl Aerospace Division. I'm gonna go 150 on this because I don't care. I'm gonna leave my penalties at the lowest they can be because if I'm being honest, man, reusability sounds like a cool thing to pursue, and I don't want to have to be taking way too much money off to reuse. So, advanced. All my advanced stuff. Here we have I have these limits, and I have plasma blackout on because I think that's cool. I'm also going to be using 100% re-entry heating for this series, which means we might have a few explosions. Let's start her up. Alright, we is here. Alright, so first things first, the very few things I have starting out is a small command pod and a solid fuel rocket booster and this parachute. That's all I have right now. Nothing else in here except for a couple wings. See, this right here is one of my mods. It's the Kerbal reusability pack, and that basically what that does is it makes it possible for me to it adds a lot of like SpaceX replica parts in. I also do have just a straight up SpaceX mod, which I'm not gonna be using that much because I got that for a save that I want to use just those parts in. So those won't be getting used here unless for some reason you guys decide you want me to use that. So here is my first craft, Hopper 1. That's what it's going to be called. If you don't like it, screw off. So for the beginning, I am going to be using up until I start going to different planets, I'm going to be using rockets that I know work, that I use in my other saves. But yeah, once I start branching off, going to different planets, that'll be when I start making brand new rockets. So, saved, staging is good, Jubalablaya in the freaking thing, let's launch. So obviously, this first episode's goal is to get into orbit. Basically, I also have this mod. It's called Chatterer. It adds ambient wind noises, and also some space noises, and voices. It'll play voices as like radio chatter, and I know you can hear that weird sound in the background. Yeah, alright. Observe this for a control, and then turn on SAS and launch. God, that's a lot of G's. That's a lot of G's. Alright. Crew report. The mod seems like it's playing space sounds on the ground, which I could turn down, but I don't know. I think I kind of like it. I'm just going to leave it. I'll reset that. I should probably wait till I get to my apoapsis. There. Now I'll do it. Observe mystery goo. It's the same thing, I just wanted to make sure I was at the highest point. Because it's only really useful unless you're at the highest. Well, it's only really useful if you're at the highest point. And there's the parachute. this should be basically everyone's first rocket. This is what everyone's first gonna launch with. They're gonna put Jebediah in the capsule. They're gonna throw the one thing that can get them into the sky on it, and hopefully they put mystery goo on it. Because if you don't put mystery goo on it, you're kind of wasting your time. Oh crap! Yeah, that always happens. One time I actually like lost the mission because of that. And that is it. So right now we actually have a world first. That gives us a lot more money. I always clear those. I have like OCD about it. And for some reason our engine just like smacked into the ground. And recover. This should give us enough science to get liquid tanks, liquid fuel tanks, and one, I think the Reliant engine or the Swivel engine, one or the other. But that'll be really helpful for getting into orbit. We need liquid engines if we want to get into orbit. Unless, like, you can be really skilled. Nope, we're getting the swivel first. Okay. You can be skilled enough to not need it, obviously. Alright, that's all our science. So, that should give me a couple liquid fuel tanks and a liquid engine. First, I'm going to continue this series of rocket with the Hopper 2. Ooh. We do not have a heat shield, so if we hit space, we could be screwed on the way down. Never launch this without at least a decoupler. There's like a 50-50 chance like I die on the way down, because I don't launch this ever. But the next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna start my orbital rocket program. And that'll be what gets us up saved. And just to keep things even, and so our pilots can use SAS, advanced SAS quicker, we switch between them until they both have at least the prograde and retrograde on the SAS. Because that's really important whenever you want to get like fine, like really good orbits. In the beginning it doesn't really matter, but you're going to want it later down the line. Alright. Just because the ambient noise is a bit loud. Yeah, you hear that? That's space noise. Yeah, how about we play them only when in IVA? So, whenever you go into IVA, internal view, you start hearing the sounds. I think that's freaking cool. I'm not gonna lie. I just went on a tangent instead of launching my rocket. Let's turn on SAS. Always turn on SAS. If you're on console, push B. If you're in this, I actually don't know the keybind to it yet, so just click it. So yeah. Spacebar and let's go. Always check your staging. As you can tell, this booster pushes a lot longer and harder than that last booster did. Oh, I made a mistake. Observe it. Now look at that heating. That's bad. Looking at our apoapsis, we are going to kiss the edge of space and quite possibly explode on the way down. So yeah. Once this re-entry, well, not entry heating, once this heat dies down, detach, and boom, we're now just a command pod on the way into space. We are in space. You always know because you hear that music. Now we can observe the mystery goo and get a lot more science. Get 15 for this since we're in space. So we keep that. And also, while we're here, we do a crew report. Boom. Now hopefully not having a heat shield doesn't kill us, because we don't have a heat shield. So we could be hitting some high speeds on the way down. Alright, well the speeds are still pretty tame, so we should be fine. Yeah. We didn't even see any re-entry heating on the way down. We're good. I have a particle effects mod installed, so re-entry heating's a lot cooler looking. And there went our booster stage, hitting the ground. I always wait till it hits right under 300, so at 290 deploy parachutes, because I had too many times when I'd deploy the chutes too early and it would tear them up on the way down. Also, little advice. Over here, by the way, if you want to set up an abort group in your action groups, which I don't have yet, you just come over here, hit that button, and it'll do whatever you did put in the abort group. And over here, if you switch this, it tells you terrain and sea level altitude. I like to use terrain altitude just because if you're over the sea, it'll show you sea level, and if you're over terrain, it'll show you relative distance. But it's still helpful to have. The parachutes normally deploy at 1,000 meters, or right after 1,000 meters. Yep, right there. Our next rocket is going to go, basically the idea behind, because this rocket will be called Eagle. This will be the Eagle program is what I'm calling it. Basically, what this next rocket's going to do is it's going to take off, detach, and the second stage is going to push it down range. So it'll end up going farther in, not as probably as far up, but farther out into the ocean than the last rockets have. So boom. I keep saying that. I need to stop. Well, there you go. Let's get all our science. Since we just touched space, we should have some world first milestones and speed milestones, which will give us quite a bit more money. And the first thing I always like to upgrade is the astronaut complex. The astronaut complex, basically, if you don't upgrade that, you won't be able to go EVA. And going EVA is kind of important if you want to get a bunch of science. And since I'm going to be building bigger rockets, boom, there goes all my money. Well, not all my money. I still have quite a bit of money. There goes a bunch of my money into these 3 facilities. That's what I like to do first. We're going to look at contracts now. And come over here to Kerbal. All right, there we go. Orbit Kerbal. That'll be perfect for us. We're going to take that one. And I don't know, I can have 2 contracts. So we're going to take 1 more. This will be really useful because if we can't unlock this yet, then it'll be good for coming back down. All right. Survivability. There, that's what we need. And you can see there's like this part and this part. I wish dang it worked. It basically makes random crash, like random failures in the rockets, and I can't get it to work, unfortunately. That would be freaking awesome if I could. So I went 15, and this right here, this stability enhancer, I love it. I can't unlock it right now, but when I can, that'll be the next thing I unlock. So right now, you see, there's a lot of modded engines here. This is where most of the SpaceX stuff is. I'm not going to be using these. The modded things that I am going to be using are these. These are stuff from the near future expansion mods. They're really, really good. Really realistic, well-modeled engines. And they add a lot to the game. They come with a lot of really cool things, like, first off, it changes. The only asset that it actually changes in the game that I can tell is the large fuel tanks, like the Saturn V sized ones. So these ones, they make them able to turn orange, and they make the textures more realistic, and you could replicate the space shuttle better with those. Ooh, dang. All right, we are gonna get stability, so that gives us wings that can turn and tilt to use aerodynamic control surfaces to our advantage. It helps a lot. So for those of you who want to use the Onion is really cool looking. You don't need a heat shield for it for orbital flights because it has a blader on it. The problem is it doesn't have reaction wheels, which means it's really hard to fly. You'll need a bunch of aerodynamic surfaces or to add reaction wheels during the design. What I usually do is, I guess it could be considered cheating, but normally whenever I put like the Onion, I don't have any reaction wheels unlocked yet, I don't think. Nope, no reaction wheels. I normally pretend that's a reaction wheel. I put it up there, go to the move, and then just move it down into it and connect the parachute to it. I also add batteries. If you're using reaction wheels, always add batteries and things that can generate power. Reaction wheels will eat up your electricity like crazy, and without reaction wheels, you don't have SAS. You only have, you don't have SAS. So our next rocket here See if we have anything better for science. See this? Now we have better stuff for science. So the next thing I'm going to be doing, this will be the Eagle 1 craft. Going to be using a Reliant engine and putting it up here. This will not burn for very long at all. This thing will be out of fuel really quickly after it ignites. The idea of this is just to push it a little bit down range so we can get a little bit more science. And here I have our new wings. These will actually turn with like they're like airplane winglets. That's actually what they are. They're winglets. So basically always come over here and check your staging. So for example, what I want to happen first. Alright, give her that. I want this to ignite first, so we make sure that that lights up here. So that's gonna ignite first. Then this is gonna detach. Then this engine's gonna ignite. Then this is gonna break off, and then that's gonna go. And always, if you have contracts, make sure you check them. So 2,000 meters per second to 2,500 meters per second. That's pretty high. I don't know if this one will be able to get to those. Especially not at 39,000. We might have to go to the moon and come back down before we can do that. But here, I have my first in the line of potentially orbital class rockets, the Eagle 1. This episode is going to be more like a tutorial. Once I'm through the basics of the game, because I know I have at least one person who really could use a little bit of help sometimes with stuff. Once I'm past the basics, the tutorial style episodes will go away. So, observing the mystery goo while on the ground, and observing the stuff in the barometer. Always keep the experiments. They're stored inside the things that they took up. Don't try to transmit, especially if you don't have batteries or antennas. It won't go anywhere. Should always turn on SAS, and then PC spacebar, Xbox A. Oops, messed up my throttle there. So this engine is really powerful, but it doesn't have any swivel capability, so it has no gimbal. Wow, look at the particle effects take over there. Well, we can make it to space on this, but first things first, I need to actually, we are not going to make it to space on this if I keep getting dragged like this. There, alright. Fix our little drag issue. So now we should be able to coast up into space. This is not as high of an altitude as Hopper 2 did. But once we hit space, I'll take the readings of the barometer, thermometer, and mystery goo. Alright, we are in space. You gotta do this quick, especially with these early missions, because it won't be long before you start falling back down. And we have gone EVA. You can actually hear chatterer adds in breathing, and it add in a hatch noise. So there, we just took an EVA report. I can't do EVA in this to save my life. So we get back inside, and you can actually, there's airlock sounds too. So yeah, chatterer, very recommended. It's a great mod for audio. It makes the game feel a lot more realistic, more live. So this rocket has kind of failed in getting us downrange and rather kind of pushed us off to the side and into the ocean. You actually heard the booster and second stage just hit the water there. Those of you with good ears, if my recording software's audio is loud enough for that. 62 science for that one mission. We actually got 8,000 back from that. Awesome. So we go into the R&D facility. And what I need is a vacuum optimized engine. Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna get that. These modded engines, I'm gonna use these. The Stromboli. I love the Stromboli. Oh, I missed it by a little bit. I really want that, bro. And we're going to get a satellite in this one. So this one should get us to a much higher altitude and might even get us really close to orbit. But what we need to do is, instead of putting a giant engine on top of this, this will become a bottom, lower stage engine. And the, ooh, wow, that's big. Man, how much power does a Stromboli make? Stromboli only makes 40 kilonewtons. I'm sorry. I can't use Stromboli. Vesuvius, bro. Actually, the Vesuvius is it's not a vacuum optimized engine, and is actually this is a cryogenic pack. This is cryo engines. I really love this mod because it adds in all these cool things. This is SpaceX engines. I'm not going to be using those for this series. This is a bottom of the rocket engine. I will use that for the main engine. Eagle 2. That we come out with a total of 1,700 meters per second at sea level, around 2,900 in a vacuum, which means we're gonna get pretty far up there. The first stage will fly straight up, the second stage will turn over and push us downrange. Vacuum optimized engines are really important for getting into orbit because big engines will waste fuel too quick and you need fine adjustments for vacuum for orbit. Alright, SAS is on. Oop, I forgot to throttle up. There we go. I love this. This is custom engine exhaust that came with the mod, and I love it. What they did with it. Because this is like a cryo engine. Cryogenic engines are like, it's like liquid oxygen, which is used anyway, but it's like liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen, or liquid, you know, it's good. And I love the way the exhaust looks. I love the mod, so yeah. Alright, engine is now dead. Spacebar. Spacebar again, which ignites our second engine. And this can push us even farther up. We should have over 1,000 meters per second of delta V right now. So that could really help. At 90, now that we are at 90 kilometers as our apoapsis, I'm going to go up there, do an apogee kick to push us far downrange, and then let that be where we end up. Space. EVA report. And then B to reboard. Turn on SAS. Tilt over now that we're in space. And full throttle it directly even with the horizon, with the ground. This is not orbital class yet, but we're getting really close now. Because this apogee kick will help a lot. Our next rocket will be orbital class. Guaranteed. And there we have it. Burnt out. So now, I'm going to rotate the ship so that our heat shield will always be facing down, because the re-entry heating on this might be a little intense. Gonna time warp to re-entry. You can actually see out there is Minimus. That is like my favorite moon. See, this is the fastest re-entry we've done so far at 1,300 meters per second. Still wasn't very intense. You can actually see back there is our second stage engine. That's gonna smash into the ocean and be lost. Let it go a lot lower this time because of it's the ocean. Yeah. Holy crap, something survived on it. So there, we left that with 50 science. Just that one little flight. I can't find it. Alright. So what are we getting here? We need this. And finally, we're getting this. So now we have struts to make our rockets a lot more stable. The strut, we could always use auto strut, but some people don't like to use auto strut because the Space Kraken doesn't like auto strut. Oh man. Alright. This is where things start to get interesting. This is probably about the most Kerbal rocket you'll see me make, other than my Draco 2. These thrusters are powerful. They burn long, they burn with a lot of force. And actually, even though I have these things, maybe, I know the Falcon 9 is a lot taller than this, but we have these launch towers now. Maybe I could get a launch tower to work with it. Ah, man, it would totally explode. Rip. Wait, there, boom. God dang it, I said it again, guys. I said it again. Alright, now, we're gonna use these, pieces right here to keep the rocket together, to keep the rocket from falling over on the pad. Because, rockets falling over on the pad probably isn't good. Oh wait, not rigid attachment, auto strut. I like auto strut. I'm gonna use auto strut. Where is it? So this is the Eagle 3. This should be our first Orbital class rocket. And just because I'm so confident in its abilities, I'm not even going to start off with a test. Actually, no, we don't have the miniaturization pack, and I am not going to freehand it all the way up. So this will be a test mission. See how high up we can get. But we'll launch a Sputnik replica, which will be fun. And alright. This is Eagle 3. Eagle 3 should, and was my first orbital class rocket. Now, it's pretty over-engineered for what you need. This obviously wasn't part of it. I used a swivel engine, so this could be thrown off a bit. Maybe it doesn't get into orbit, but my original orbital class was this. And spacebar, or A. And you see, these rocket boosters will last quite a bit. Actually, the boosters are burning out just a little bit faster than my actual Vesuvius cryogenic engine is burning out. By 10,000 with larger rockets, I usually like to be aimed 45 degrees over, but if I'm being honest, you can see the particle effects are kind of insane. And now, that's detaching of the boosters and X. They just hit each other and I missed it. Rip. Alright. We should now coast up to 175 kilometers where we can do an apogee kick, or we can do it before then and get into a successful orbit. Alright. So you can see like that. It's a pretty not great trajectory. So we use a cryo engine to stretch it out a little bit and make it easier on the next engine that needs to take over after it. And there we go. We now have the next engine lighting off. To basically, we want our trajectory. I like to get it like right before that landmass, before I get up to the apoapsis and hit it with the apogee kick. So, even with the horizon, full throttle, and just burn flat. Unless, if you pass the apoapsis, or it looks like you're going to pass the apoapsis, you can pitch up above prograde. Prograde is this marker right here. We're not looking for a pretty orbit right now, but we're gonna get into orbit with this craft for sure. Alright. Now to be as fuel efficient as possible, I'm gonna time warp nearer to the apoapsis. And then burn direct prograde. Hit 900 meters per second left. Now as soon as your periapsis is over 70,000, you're successfully in a stable orbit. And that's it. That's all you need to do. As long as you have like about 200. I like 200 is my benchmark for being able to get back. So now, it doesn't need to be pretty. It's not pretty. But I have reached an orbit, and I broke some world first, and I've orbited Kerbal for $48,000, which is quite a bit of money. So, gonna do science. Well, what I'm gonna do now is I like to burn in such a way that I land in that desert, because it's a big area to land in, and it's almost always day when I launch, and I like landing in day. This is gonna be really hot as far as re-entry goes. It's gonna be a really steep re-entry profile. Like I said, as long as your periapsis is below 70,000, you will land eventually. It might take a few passes, but you'll land. I mean, that's about the most heat efficient way of doing it, if I'm being honest. Now, we should be able to see particle effects, because re-entry heating coming down from orbit is a lot higher than coming down from just the suborbital trajectory flight. And now, just to take a second to admire the particle effects, re-entry effects, I mean, just look at that. There's our second stage coming down with us. Like, that's kind of cool. Just so you guys know, there is a jettison option for this, for your heat shield. You should know what jettison means. Basically, you just... Oh, I can't run the test here. Silly. Just jettison and it flies off, but you'll lose money doing that, so I would not recommend it. The next thing I need is miniaturization, which is 90 science points. So it'll be a bit before I get that. That'll be how we launch our sat. So we made it into orbit. Hope you guys enjoyed. Next episode we will be launching Valentina on a satellite, and we'll be building the Eagle 4, which is my super reliable orbital class rocket. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Like for more. Go ahead and comment what you would like to see, because, like, you know. Do you like mods? Do you like me not having mods? I don't give a crap. Your opinion doesn't matter, but please tell me it. But it's like I played Kerbal Space Program for like 2 years on Enhanced Edition. So yeah, it's nice having mods. It's really fun. It makes the game. There's just so much more to do now. So now I've just upgraded everything to level 2, and it won't be long, and I'll be able to get everything to level 3, and then things will really start picking up. So yeah, well, another video next week. Peace, boys.